Imagine this: you're standing in front of a mirror, staring at your reflection. You see the flaws first, the nose that's too big, the jaw that isn't sharp enough, the eyes that look tired. You pull at your shirt, angle your face, flex your posture, hoping maybe you'll catch a glimpse of the man you want to be. But what you don't realize is that while you're busy tearing yourself apart in silence, women out there are noticing things about you that you don't even see. They're reading signals you give off without effort, signals that quietly say you're far more attractive than you believe. Here's the brutal truth: most men are blind to their own appeal. You've been conditioned to think attraction is about flawless looks, money, or flashy status symbols. But women's radar for attraction doesn't work like yours does. While you're counting imperfections, she's watching how you walk into a room. While you're worried about your hairline, she's locked onto your calm eye contact. While you're beating yourself up over height, she's picking up on the fact that other people naturally listen when you speak. That's what hooks her, not what you think is missing, but the subtle cues you don't know you're giving. Think back. Have you ever noticed a woman staring at you a little longer than expected, and you dismissed it as an accident? Have you ever had someone laugh harder at your joke than it deserved, and you assumed she was just being polite? Those weren't accidents. Those were tells. The problem isn't that you're unattractive. The problem is that you don't know how attractive you actually are. And when you don't know, you sabotage yourself. You lean forward when you should lean back. You text too quickly when her interest was already lit. You explain yourself when silence would have done the work for you. Let's be real, women aren't just judging your face. They're reading your frame. Do you take up space or shrink into yourself? Do you move with intention or rush like you're apologizing for existing? That's where attraction is decided. Picture this: a guy with model-level looks walks in, but he's slouched, fidgeting, eyes darting like he wants to disappear. His beauty evaporates the second his energy betrays him. Now picture an average-looking man, solid posture, slow and steady steps, calm shoulders, voice that doesn't rush. That man instantly becomes magnetic because he radiates self-possession. And here's what nobody tells you: women feel that before they even think it. This is where your war begins. The war isn't against her, it's against the lies you've been fed that you're not enough, that you need to hustle for attraction, that you have to compensate. The real fight is against your own disbelief in what you already carry. The longer you ignore those signals, the looks, the lingering questions, the subtle tests, the more you'll overcompensate with effort. And effort, in this game, often kills desire. Here's the tactical shift. Stop obsessing over whether you're good enough looking. Start training yourself to see the feedback loop women already give you. When she laughs too loud at something small, don't brush it off. Note it. When she keeps the conversation alive even when you went quiet, don't assume she's just being polite. Register it. When she accidentally brushes against you more than once, stop telling yourself it's random. Recognize it. These are green lights, and the man who notices them walks differently than the man who doubts them. You might say, but what do I do when I notice them? Simple. You stop chasing. You stop over-explaining. You stop acting like you have to convince her. You let the tension breathe. When she leans in, you don't rush to fill the silence. You hold her gaze for one extra beat. When she tests you with a teasing jab, you don't explain yourself. You smirk and let it hang. When she pulls back for attention, you don't panic. You stay steady, indifferent, because you already read the signs that she's drawn in. That's the strategy most men never learn. Use the signals she gives to pull back into your power instead of lunging forward. Attraction isn't about proving yourself. It's about revealing that you already know your worth, and you won't hand it away for scraps of approval. The moment you start seeing yourself through the same lens she does, Your energy shifts. You don't walk into a room wondering if you're good looking enough. You walk in knowing someone will notice, because they always do. And when you carry that awareness without arrogance, women feel it like a current they can't explain. So let me ask you directly, have you ever caught yourself dismissing signs that a woman was clearly interested in you? Did you ignore them until it was too late? Which cues do you now realize you've been blind to? The way she laughs, the way she lingers, the way she tests you, and more importantly, how would your interactions change if you actually believed what she already sees? You've probably underestimated how much women notice the little things about you, not the things you think matter, like your haircut or whether your shirt cost $50 or $5. I'm talking about the way you pause before answering a question, the way your eyes don't dart around when silence hits, the way you lean back instead of forward when she's trying to provoke a reaction. These are signals of strength, and women are hardwired to pick up on them. You might think you're just being quiet, but to her, that calm restraint is a form of confidence most men can't fake. Here's where it gets dangerous when you don't recognize your own attractiveness. You sabotage it. You take that silence which could have been powerful and fill it with nervous chatter. You take that natural moment of restraint and ruin it with over-explaining, because you don't believe she's actually drawn in yet. You turn what could have been magnetism into neediness, and she feels the shift instantly. That's how you lose before the game even begins. Think of the last time you were with a woman and things felt good, natural, unforced. Maybe you were just sitting side by side, not saying much. She looked comfortable. She even leaned against you a little. But then your insecurity flared. You thought, I should say something. I should keep her entertained. And the second you turned that quiet comfort into performance, her energy shifted. Her body pulled back. Her eyes lost that sparkle. You thought it was about her getting bored. No, it was about you not trusting the attraction that was already there. This is the hidden trap you think you need to keep proving yourself. She already saw something in you before you even spoke. That's why she agreed to meet. Why she keeps the conversation alive. Why she tests you. Women don't test men they feel nothing for. They test the ones they're drawn to, because they want to see if your composure holds when pressure hits. And if you misinterpret the test as rejection, you'll react like a boy begging for approval instead of a man grounded in presence. Here's the tactical reality: attraction is less about beauty and more about frame control. Your face might not be perfect, your build might not be ideal, but if your frame is solid, you're already ahead of men who look better than you on paper. Frame means this: you decide how much attention you give, how much space you allow, how you respond under tension. She jabs, you smile, she pulls away, you don't chase. She throws silence at you, you lean into it instead of running. That's frame, and it's more powerful than any symmetrical jawline. Now, let's talk about withdrawal. Every man has felt it, that sudden coldness. Yesterday she was warm. Today her replies are short. Yesterday she was leaning in. Today she's distant. This is where most men collapse. You panic. You send longer texts, asking if something's wrong. You replay every conversation to figure out what mistake you made. But here's the truth: 9 times out of 10. Her withdrawal isn't about you messing up. It's a control move. She's seeing if you'll chase. She's testing whether your self-belief can survive without her constant validation. The right move: indifference. Not fake indifference. Real, grounded calm. You don't chase. You don't send a wall of texts. You don't break your routine to seek reassurance. You stay steady because you understand what's really happening. The second she feels you don't panic when she pulls back, her respect for you doubles. She realizes she can't control you with absence, and that paradoxically makes her more drawn to you. Most men never reach this level because their fear of loss is stronger than their grip on self-worth. I'll give you an image. Picture a poker game. One guy has a decent hand, but he's sweating, tapping his fingers, glancing nervously around, even if his cards are good. His body betrays him. The other guy, he's calm, leaning back, sipping his drink like nothing matters. Maybe his cards are worse. Maybe they're better, but his composure makes him untouchable. That's how women experience men. Your cards, your looks, your income, your height matter less than the calm energy you radiate. You think you're average, but to her, your ability to stay steady when tested makes you rare. Here's the strategic adjustment every time you feel that panic rise when she delays replying, when she throws silence, when she teases you sharply. Use it as training. Instead of chasing, sit in the discomfort. Breathe. Stay still. Because the longer you hold that frame, the more she reveals where her real interest lies. She'll always come back closer when she realizes you didn't collapse. You want to know the irony? The men who women describe as good-looking are often not the most physically gifted. They're the ones who stop betraying themselves with insecurity. They didn't talk their way out of attraction. They didn't chase approval when withdrawal hit. They held their ground, and that amplified every feature they had. That's why women see them as attractive, even if men looking from the outside don't get it. So let me ask you, how many times have you collapsed when she pulled away, thinking it meant she lost interest? How often have you destroyed your own magnetism by chasing too soon or talking too much? And what would happen if, the next time she tested you, you just stayed calm, silent, and let her reveal herself first? You've been living under the illusion that attraction is a checklist: tall, muscular, rich, symmetrical features. But the reality is, this men who obsess over those boxes often lose to the guy who carries himself with quiet conviction. Women don't describe him by his jawline or his abs. They describe him with words like something about him, his presence, the way he looks at me. And here's the twist: if you don't recognize that this something exists in you, you'll hand it away every time without realizing it. Let's break it down with brutal honesty. Think about eye contact. Most men look away too fast. They're afraid of being exposed, of being seen too deeply, so they glance, retreat, glance again. It screams insecurity. But when you hold eye contact, when you let silence stretch instead of panicking, you flip the script. You communicate without words. I'm not desperate. I'm not nervous. I'm grounded in myself. Women feel that in their bodies before they even process it in their minds. That's why a man who holds her gaze without flinching can make her blush harder than any line of compliments. Now, imagine posture. You think it's just about standing up straight, but it's deeper. When you walk into a room with your shoulders rolled back and your movements deliberate, people part for you without knowing why. You look like you belong. Like you're not there to ask for permission, but to take up space naturally. Compare that to the man constantly fidgeting, hunched over his phone, rushing his steps as if he doesn't want to be noticed. Which man do you think she instinctively gravitates toward? This is where you've been misled. You chase surface fixes' clothes, gym routines, grooming hacks while ignoring the deeper truth. Women experience your confidence through micro signals. The pace of your breath, the steadiness of your voice, the way you don't rush to fill every silence. Those are the traits that make her lean closer without even understanding why. And when you miss these truths, you end up doing the exact things that kill attraction. You overcompensate. You crack jokes too often. You fill her phone with needy messages. You explain your value instead of letting her feel it. Here's something you've probably never thought about: women gossip about men differently than men gossip about women. Men say, "She's hot, she has a great body, her face is beautiful." Women say things like, "I don't know what it is about him, the way he talks, the way he carries himself, the way I feel when I'm around him." Translation: They're noticing things you've ignored in yourself. They're reading attraction in the pauses, the presence, the unspoken. And if you don't see it, you'll always act beneath your true value. Now, let's talk about emotional overinvestment. This is where most men destroy themselves. A woman shows mild interest, maybe a playful smile or a curious question, and instead of letting the tension build, you dump your whole soul into her lap. You tell her everything, you chase with texts, you treat her like she's already your girlfriend. What happens? She loses interest, not because you weren't attractive, but because you couldn't hold the tension. Attraction isn't built by handing over everything at once. It's built by pacing, by holding back, by letting her curiosity grow. Here's the strategy. Treat your attention like it's scarce. Stop giving it away like free samples. Women respect what they have to earn. When you pull back just slightly, when you don't instantly reward every message, when you let her wonder what you're thinking instead of spilling it all, you create gravity. She leans in, she invests, she chases. That's not manipulation, that's balance. Because when you believe you're the prize, you stop begging to be chosen. Think about this in practice. She texts you something short, a half response. Most men panic. Oh no, she's losing interest. They send a long message back, trying to reignite her. Wrong move. The stronger play, match her energy or go even shorter. Let the silence sit. Make her realize she didn't get your full presence because she didn't give hers. Watch how quickly she adjusts. That's frame. That's control. That's what attractive men do without thinking. And here's the final punch. In this part, you've been told your looks are average, maybe even below. But what if I told you average-looking men become unforgettable when they stop betraying themselves with desperation? You've met men like this. They weren't the tallest, weren't the richest, weren't the most handsome, and yet women lit up around them. Why? Because those men didn't cave to insecurity. They let their presence, their stillness, their confidence amplify every physical trait they had. That's what you've been missing. So let me ask you, when was the last time you ruined a moment by giving too much, too soon? Have you ever caught yourself flooding her with attention when she barely gave you anything back? And how would your relationships shift if, instead of proving your worth, you let her earn your full attention piece by piece? Here's the part you've avoided facing. You're better looking than you believe, but your disbelief poisons everything. Women have given you signals. They lingered in conversation. They touched your arm. They laughed harder than they needed to. And you told yourself, she's just being nice. That's the self-sabotage. You deny what's in front of you because you don't think you're worthy of it. And once you deny it, you start chasing instead of receiving. Let me make this brutal but clear. Women are masters of subtlety, but they rarely waste energy on men they find repulsive. If she's engaging, if she's poking, if she's testing, there's attraction at some level. You think tests are rejection. They're not. They're her way of asking, are you really who you appear to be? Can you handle me without folding? And if you collapse into over-explaining or begging for clarity, you confirm her worst fear that your frame is weaker than it looked. Picture this. You're at a bar with friends. She's across the room. You catch her glancing at you more than once. Your insecurity whispers, she's probably looking past me, so you ignore it. But then she finds a reason to walk near you, maybe even brushes against you. Instead of holding your ground, you freeze, you doubt, and the moment dies. Later, you'll tell yourself, she wasn't really interested. Wrong, she was. You just didn't step into it. That's the cost of disbelief. You blind yourself to openings, then wonder why nothing happens. The truth is, you've been trained to think women are out of reach. That beauty is only for the chosen few. So you've built your behavior around defense, avoid risk, avoid embarrassment, avoid making a fool of yourself. But what you don't see is that your hesitation communicates more loudly than your flaws ever could. When you hesitate, she reads it as weakness. When you doubt, she feels it as insecurity. That's why she drifts, not because you weren't attractive, but because you didn't trust the attraction enough to act. Here's the tactical correction. Stop waiting for obvious signs. Women rarely make attraction blatant. Instead, train your eye for the small cues: lingering looks, repeated proximity, playful resistance. Then, instead of over-analyzing, lean in with calm boldness. If she teases, don't defend smirk. If she lingers, hold eye contact 1 second longer. If she tests with withdrawal, don't panic, mirror her calm distance. The key isn't to talk her into attraction. The key is to stop talking yourself out of it. Think about body language. Most men think attraction is built in words, but women decide how they feel about you before you've spoken 10 sentences. They're watching if you fidget, if you shift nervously, if you lean in too far. Your stillness, your patience, your composure, those are the things that make her pulse quicken. You don't need perfect features to spark it. You need the ability to sit in discomfort without flinching. And when she withdraws, that's the battlefield. Her silence is not always rejection, it's often strategy. She's seeing if you'll collapse, if you'll chase, if you'll hand away all your power. Most men fail here. They blow up her phone, they demand answers, they bend to win her back. But the men who win are the ones who do nothing. They continue living, unshaken. They know the truth. If she's genuinely interested, she'll return. If she doesn't, she wasn't worth the chase. That calm indifference separates boys from men. Let me give you an example. 2 men are texting the same woman. She pulls back, sends short replies. The first man sends paragraph after paragraph, asking what's wrong, begging for her attention. She rolls her eyes and moves on. The second man mirrors her energy, short replies, calm, focused on his life. A few days later, she comes back full force, curious again, because he didn't give her the power of controlling his emotions. That's the difference. Not looks, not money, frame. Here's what you need to tattoo into your mind. Women are drawn to men who are certain of themselves, not men who are perfect. Certainty is rare. In a world of men who crumble at the first test, the man who doesn't flinch is unforgettable. And chances are, you've had moments where you showed that certainty without even realizing it, and women responded. That's proof you're more attractive than you think. The tragedy is that you don't let those moments define you. You let your insecurities run the show instead. So let me ask you, how many times have you ignored real attraction because you told yourself you weren't good enough? How often have you mistaken a test for rejection and chased until she pulled further away? And what would change if you finally stopped dismissing the signals she's already giving you? Here's the hardest truth to swallow. Women have already revealed your attractiveness to you dozens of times, but you dismissed it because it didn't match the story you tell yourself in the mirror. You remember the compliments but laugh them off. You notice the lingering glances but convince yourself they were accidents. You hear the "you're handsome" or "you have nice eyes" and respond with self-deprecating jokes. Every time you do that, you train yourself to disbelieve reality and cling to insecurity. And insecurity, more than any physical flaw, is what robs you of your presence. Think of the last time a woman gave you a compliment. Maybe she said she liked your smile. Instead of owning it with a calm "thank you," you brushed it off. Maybe even joked about it. What you didn't realize is that she wasn't just being polite, she was opening a door. Women rarely give direct compliments unless they feel something, but you close the door yourself because you didn't believe it. That's what self-sabotage looks like: attraction handed to you, and you reject it. Now imagine this instead, she says. You have nice eyes. You hold her gaze, smile slightly, and simply say, "I know." Not arrogant, not over the top, just steady. That moment hits harder than any compliment you could give her in return. Why? Because you accepted reality without flinching. You showed her that you're not only aware of your appeal, but comfortable in it. That's rare, and that rarity is magnetic. This is the psychological battlefield men don't talk about. You think attraction is a fight out there, with women rejecting you, but the real fight is inside. You reject yourself before anyone else can. You cut yourself down before she gets the chance to see you fully. That's why women pull away, not because you're unattractive, but because you deny the attraction she already felt. Here's the tactical weapon you've been missing. Belief is contagious. If you believe you're attractive, she feels it before you speak. If you doubt yourself, she feels that too. And women, whether they admit it or not, are hypersensitive to energy. They're scanning for certainty. They want to feel like they're stepping into a current stronger than their own emotions. That's why the man who believes in himself, even imperfectly, wins over the man who doubts himself while checking all the boxes on paper. Let's talk about presence. Picture a room full of people. One man is loud, cracking jokes, trying hard to be noticed. Another is quiet, calm, leaning against the wall with relaxed posture, speaking only when necessary. Which one do women orbit toward the second? Not because he's louder, not because he's trying, but because his restraint communicates abundance. He doesn't need to fight for attention. He already owns it by not needing it. That's the paradox most men never grasp. Less effort, more gravity. And when you learn to embody this, manipulation stops working on you. A woman can't control you with silence if you're comfortable in your own. She can't bait you with teasing if you're not defensive. She can't hook you with sudden withdrawal if you don't chase. You break every trap because your value isn't up for negotiation. That's when she sees you not as an option, but as the standard. Here's your practical shift. Next time you're with a woman and she pulls back, don't lunge. Don't fill the gap with effort. Stay calm. Breathe. Let the space remain. Notice how uncomfortable it makes her before it makes you. That discomfort is the point. The man who collapses in it proves he's ordinary. The man who owns it proves he's rare. And this applies everywhere. At work, when someone challenges you, don't rush to justify yourself. Hold the silence, then answer with precision. With friends, when someone teases you, don't fire back defensively. Smirk, shrug, let it roll off. In dating, when she tests, don't panic. Let her see you're unshaken. These micro moments stack up into something far greater than looks' undeniable masculine presence. You've been better looking than you believed this entire time, but looks are just the surface. What really makes you attractive and what women feel deep in their gut is whether you betray yourself under pressure. If you stay grounded, you win. If you collapse, you lose. It's that simple. So let me turn it on you. How many times have you laughed off compliments because you didn't believe them? How often have you rejected attraction before it even had the chance to grow? And what would your life look like if you finally stopped dismissing what women already see in you? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.